This might be the best entry-level espresso machine for people who just want great espresso at home and for those who want to grow in a hobby. It's not perfect, but in a few key areas, it's more smartly designed than many machines that cost much more. And that changes what you can do with it. As you can guess, I'm a bit of a coffee nerd and I researched dozens of machines. I didn't buy the most advertised ones. Some brands invest heavily in marketing. The Stilosa is a bit more hidden, but with more substance. This is a machine you can start with, learn on, and grow with as you get deeper into the hobby, from simple habits to real upgrades to the machine itself. And I'll document that journey here in a series of videos. Now, a bit of context. I left a prosumer machine that costs about 15 times more in the storage, and I bought this €85 machine to use here in this Airbnb just to test how far I could really go. So today I'll show you why this is a great choice, the trade-offs, and why I didn't choose the other popular options. I've been using my Stilosa completely stock for about 3 months, long enough to understand where it really shines and where it doesn't. But let's set expectations. If you want zero learning curve, push a button and forget. This is not the right machine. But if you're curious, if you're willing to study a bit, I'm confident this machine can give you much better results than pods. And honestly, better than most cafes around you. The bottleneck is usually not the machine, it's the user. And that's exactly why this is such a good beginner platform. Starting with the most critical component, here's something most people don't notice. This machine uses a boiler, not a thermoblock. Thermoblocks, like in the Delonghi Stilosa or Bravo Bambino, are harder to control temperature-wise, and a lot of people complain about sourness in the cup. If you want to modulate and better control the temperature, thermoblocks are again trickier, and it's intrinsic to its construction. Boilers are much simpler and much easier to control. Inside the Stilosa, you get a stainless steel boiler, and that matters because stainless is more resistant to corrosion and scaling. When you have to descale, it's much easier. And this boiler has roughly 150 ml of volume, which helps with temperature stability. For comparison, a Gaggia Classic has around 80 ml. So yes, this cheap machine can have almost twice boiler volume than machines people pay €500 for. But don't get me wrong, Gaggia is very competent at keeping temperature stable with a small boiler. I tested and measured that myself, and I have a full video about the Gaggia E24 if you want to compare. And although the Stilosa's housing is plastic, the critical components are better than many competitors. Stainless steel boilers are usually seen in prosumer machines. Gaggia used aluminum for years and only moved to brass after 2024. Rantillo Silva is also brass. That already tells you something about the Stilosa's potential. But there's another detail. 51 millimeters. This matters more than people think. In a 51 millimeters machine, for the same amount of coffee, a smaller diameter means a higher puck. A higher puck can allow slightly coarser grinding and a cheaper grinder capable of doing a decent job, like the P2, and potentially more uniform extractions. That's why smaller diameters became popular again recently. After Lance Hedrick started talking about it, many people began buying €100 kits just to step down their 58mm basket to 49mm or less. Which is funny, because that kit alone basically costs the new Stilosa. Here, you're already at the edge from day one. But the basket ships with, well, let's uncover the baskets. Out of the box, the Stilosa comes with a pressurized basket. If you want to keep things simple and spend less time and money, just switching to better beans, freshly roasted and freshly ground, it's already a big upgrade. However, Pressurized baskets create foam, not real crema, that silky brown reddish layer we expect from espresso. If you want real espresso flavor and control, you will eventually move to a non-pressurized setup, either keeping the spouted portafilter or moving to a bottomless, any of them paired with a better basket. The bottomless has an extra benefit. You can watch the extraction from the bottom, and sometimes it gives you visual clues about better or worse extractions. And yes, it looks beautiful. But just bear in mind that with a bottomless, squirty extractions can happen and it can get messy. When I tested the original baskets, I noticed a lot of fines at the bottom of the cup, especially near the end. With an IMS basket, that powdery mouthfeel basically disappeared. And this is where a new game starts, especially if you pair this with a good grinder. Even without mods, this machine can already deliver great espresso if you get a few basics right. Let me show you how. First, coffee. Use freshly roasted coffee, recently ground. Second, water. If you live in a region with hard water, avoid chlorinated tap water with lots of carbonates. You can buy bottled water or zero water filter. If you live in an area with soft water, a simple filter to remove chlorine is usually enough. I'll leave a card here if you want to know more about water for coffee. Third, measurement. Get a scale with 0.1 grams precision to measure both dose and output. Fourth, puck preparation. Declump the grounds with a cheap WDT tool and use a better tamper than the plastic ones that comes with the machine. And don't worry, I'll leave the links in the description. Fifth, temperature. Let the machine preheat for 10 minutes with the portafilter locked in the group. After preheating, when the green light turns off, wait until it turns on again and immediately pull your shot. If it's been green for a few minutes, the temperature can already be far below ideal, sometimes by almost 10 degrees, and it becomes very hard to replicate a good shot. With this workflow, I've been making great espresso with this machine for the last 3 months, but don't believe me, test yourself. And that's not all. There are some high return improvements, few mods that I wanted to mention. First, the Eco Mode. At least in Europe, Eco Mode is mandatory and the machine turns off after about 10 minutes. Not a big deal, but sometimes I came back later to a cold group head and portafilter, and it sucks. The good news, you can set a reminder on your phone or replace the power button very easily. I'll show exactly how to do that in the next video. Second, temperature control. This machine uses a thermostat, cycling the heater on and off within roughly 10 degrees. That's normal for entry-level machines. Even 500 euros ones like the Gadia Classic uses a thermostat. But remember, this is a boiler, not a thermoblock. That means we can later add a PID to control the temperature precisely, improve the workflow, and massively increase consistency. This becomes critical once you start testing more challenging beans. But what about pressure? These machines advertise 15 bar, some even 20 bar. Higher pressure usually makes things worse. It breaks the puck, creates channels, over-extracts here and under-extracts there. And espresso wants even extraction, and lower pressure helps. That's why I'll add a dimmer to reduce flow, reduce pressure, and unlock much better extractions. Some people crack the steam valve to bleed pressure. Personally, I don't like this hack. It wastes water and it's hard to control. For milk drinks, some Stilosa comes with a panarello, a kind of plastic tube covering the wand. It makes foam, but not the silky microfoam needed for latte art. Remove it, use the right technique, and you can steam milk much closer to what a cafe would do. The Stilosa also has a small drip tray and no three-way valve. I just keep a pot nearby. Pressure release isn't instant, so you will learn to stop a bit earlier. It's annoying, but it doesn't ruin espresso quality. So, is this the only beginner machine I recommend? No, but it's the cheapest I would go. If you have more budget, I would recommend a Gallia Classic or Rancilio Silvia. They're single boiler with three-way valve, 58mm, huge modding ecosystem, but around 500 or 600 euros. You can see what I did with mine on the main mods playlist. If you're not a tinkerer, there are machines like the Apex V2 with PID, pressure gauge, adjustable flow, all stock and in the same budget range. But the brand is not as renowned as Gallia and Rancilio. But regardless of the machine, the grinder matters even more. If your total budget is 500 euros, I wouldn't buy a Gallia Classic. I would buy a Delonghi Stilosa, a good grinder, good coffee, and still have money left. You can start with hand grinders like P2 or K6. For electric grinders, check the Shardor 64mm flat burrs, the F54, Starseeker E55, Baratzen Core ESP Pro. I reviewed the budget ones, just check the budget setup playlist. And last but not least, the best espresso in a cafe is not necessarily the best espresso for you. You can make a better one if you understand your taste, know how to tweak your extraction, and make it repeatable. Because you don't want to drink your greatest espresso just once, you want to understand, repeat, and keep improving it. With affordable gear like this and the right process, you don't need to chase trends or expensive machines. In this series, I'll help you in the quest for your best espresso, and in the meantime, if you already have a Stilosa, tell me in the comments what else annoys you. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Ciao!